What's going on, guys? This is the Edge DFS. We're talking showdown. Pelicans versus Clippers. Wednesday night basketball. My name is Tyson Smith. I'm joined by Ellie Hernandez. Ellie, what's going on, man? Nice little shave there. Did you lose a couple pounds off the face there?
Yeah, now I actually got to lose a couple pounds, so got to make it match. How you doing, dude?
COVID 30?
Yeah, the COVID 30. Fuck.
I'm doing good. Holly, what's up? What's going on? So we got a kind of a shit show going on tonight here. Actually, I wouldn't call it a shit show. I'm actually kind of excited about this with all the injury news that's coming out. Thomas, what's up, man? So let's just jump right into this here, right? Let's look at some numbers for this matchup. The Pelicans are going to be without a handful of their best players. We'll get into injuries here in 1 second. You can tell by the odds here. The Clippers are going to win this game, right? And unless we think this is a League of Legends matchup, unless we think it's Invictus Gaming here going to lose as a minus 1,000 favorites, I'm betting on the fact that the Clippers are probably going to be the winning team here. It's all about figuring out which team or which players from New Orleans we can trust, and there's a handful of them. Excuse me. So minus 10 here is the spread. It's a pretty low total. This is going to be a slow-paced game. New Orleans is 25th in pace. The Clippers are 27th in pace. It seems to me like New Orleans is actually a really good they're grading out as a really good defensive and rebounding team, while the Clippers not necessarily a great defensive team. Actually, they're 25th in defensive rating. But they're a very efficient offense. They're a little bit slow, but they're very efficient. So is there anything what jumps out to you here besides the fact that this may be a fucking blowout real early?
Yeah, man, I don't know. I if I was Vegas, I probably wouldn't even be handicapping games today. I'd just be like, fuck it, dude. First, the James Harden trade. Karis LeVert's gone, right? I don't know. Like, the Nets are crazy at depth right now. New Orleans is crazy at depth. I don't know what's going to happen here tonight. I definitely think this could result in a blowout. I think we've seen more blowouts than we've seen close games so far in the NBA this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. But I think there's a shitload of value on New Orleans, and I don't think that's a secret.
So let's back up a second. So what jumps out to you about this crazy trade today? I mean, the Nets have to be expecting Kyrie to be he's done, right? I mean, is there any reason to believe that this dude's not absolutely batshit crazy and might not even play the rest of the season? That's why they did this?
Oh, I have no idea, man. Honestly, I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know enough about Kyrie Irving to comment on him. I think he's actually crazy, but I think like when everybody starts talking shit about him, he's just gonna like come back and start dropping fucking 60 burgers on everyone. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's just that kind of guy. So
this may possibly be the most sensitive group of rich people that are paired together. I mean, all three of these guys are incredibly sensitive.
Hey, man, so, look, here's the thing though, like, you know, their career could end tomorrow. So, like, fuck it. You guys all want to go get paid a shitload of money together? Do what you want, dude. Just whatever. I don't know, man. You want to talk about DFS?
Look. Yes, absolutely. All I'm saying is it would be irresponsible for us not to mention one of the biggest trades we've seen in a minute.
Bro, I think Karis LeVert's is the big winner of that trade, and obviously
he's in Indiana.
Nets are. Yeah, dude, he's gonna go start now.
Yeah, and that's good for Indiana.
Yeah, I really want to see him in the starting role, so I'm excited for that.
He's your hometown boy now, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You're gonna see a lot of him. You're gonna start seeing him on dealership commercials, on local television, and shit like that.
I mean, it happened last year with Malcolm Brogdon, dude. When they brought him in, like, I'd be listening to sports radio, and they'd just be like, he'd be asking people, "Hey, man, what's your favorite chicken wing?" Obviously, I don't do a good Malcolm Brogdon impression, but you know, that was actually a conversation he had. Anyways. Huh?
All right, let's get on to the injuries here, right? So Zion's out. I think of some COVID tracing, contact tracing thing with him. Lonzo Ball, knee injury. Eric Bledsoe, is it a knee injury? Let me confirm that. I usually fuck up these graphics all the time. Bledsoe is out with something, an eye. Sorry, I fucked that up. Either way, look, Lonzo, Eric Bledsoe, and Zion Williamson all out. We're going to get some huge boosts here, right? So Nickeil Alexander-Walker, at super low salary is you got to consider him and just playing him across the board. Josh Hart, similar. I think he's a little bit more expensive, but he's projected for more points. There's a ton of value here on the Pelicans. How are we handling this? And considering this might be a blowout, I think we can embrace more of the Pelicans tonight, especially with all the salary savers, and just hope that even if this is a blowout, that they'll continue to get run and they won't get pulled. When it comes to the Clippers, we've got Zubac questionable, which is also some big news because we get some bumps. We'll find out about him hopefully sooner than later. But how are you handling this Pelican situation? Is Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Josh Hart, you just locked him in along with, fucking our boy here. Why am I blanking? Brandon Ingram. God,
Yeah.
Sorry, there's so many names going through my head. Brandon Ingram, his usage is going to be through the roof, right? Do you have to just consider getting all three of these guys in most of your lineups?
Yeah. Yes, you do. Look, even if all these guys are out, right, you don't have the ability to sign people up to the squad, right, really quickly or bring in G Leaguers. You can't get past the COVID protocols. So like your depth is your depth. So there's going to be such a tight rotation regardless of what happens in this game, unless they just start like pulling one or two of the fans that just happen to be there and throwing them out there. So I think you're just fine playing these guys tonight.
Yeah, we're looking for opportunity in NBA. We're looking for minutes. If those minutes are there, I have no problem locking in dudes at $2,000 salary. Like, we'll get into the breakdown here in a minute, but Nickeil Alexander-Walker is $2,200.
Right.
Now, Josh Hart, $6,400, still a great play. But JJ Reddick's $2,600. And these guys are all projected for over 30 minutes, depending on where you're looking. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker is projected for 30 minutes at $2,200. His GPP target score is 21 fantasy points. Depending on where you're looking, he's projected for over 31 or over 30 fantasy points. So I think you just got to really consider using him as your core along with Ingram. Although we got to figure out how we're going to handle the Clipper side, because the odds that this is a blowout going into the fourth are probably relatively high. And I don't think that Kawhi and PG-13 will both be on the court at that point. So we got to make a decision. Do we want to maybe embrace one of them? Because if it is a blowout, you got to consider the fact that, PG-13 and or Kawhi, they're going to get there still, even if it's a blowout. So this is something to talk about when we're building here today, for sure. So let's look at the projected starters here. We haven't gotten official starters yet, but for right now, we're looking at Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Nicola Melli, and Steven Adams. So Melli is an interesting option. I don't love him. He's like probably one of my least favorite of all these guys we're talking about. Simply, I just don't think he has the upside. He'll get the minutes, and his price is good. I just don't know if he has the upside, but he's worth a shot for sure. You go to the other side, we got Pat Bev, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Nicholas Batum, and Serge Ibaka. So what jumps out to you with the Pelicans starting roster? Are you interested in any Melli? And do you think that Steven Adams will be slightly kind of forgotten about with all the value here?
Yeah, I think all the starters on the Pelicans are in play for me today, right? And I'm going to prioritize the value starters. So, again, this is a projected lineup. So, for whatever reason, Nicola Melli might not play, and it might be Jackson Hayes.
Zubac in.
Okay.
So no reason to. I'm not going to worry about Zubac then if he's playing.
But anyways, I doubt that's going to happen. I don't think Hayes is going to play the 4, but I think the starting rotation is going to impact really kind of where I go with some of that additional value. But I'm going to prioritize the top 3. It's going to be NAW. We should just never mind. And Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, and then I think Steven Adams is an incredibly interesting play. I do think he's going to come in under the radar. Nickeil Alexander-Walker should be pretty chalky. So I think people are going to pay up to jam in Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and then kind of just work their way down the price tree, right? Like that, right? So, Steven Adams is kind of going to be middling there, so he might get missed out on. And I definitely think this is a world where he can do some pretty good fantasy output.
Yeah. I think your core for for most of your lineups, especially cash. And look, we're not the field is not very large today. Like there's not a lot of large contests going on tonight for this. So look, you don't have to get too crazy here. I would just consider saying PG-13, Kawhi Leonard, Brandon Ingram, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker should probably just be your core. And that's how I did it. I pretty much jammed all these dudes into pretty much all my lineups and rotated out the last couple spots. And even considering Josh Hart there as well. You got 5 players there that you can consider as like a solid core, I think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when you get to tournaments, you can get a little bit more creative, and we'll get to that in a second. Let's start our little breakdown here. All right. So as usual, we're doing our captain crunch. This is kind of interesting to see here. So check this out. You got your typical, you got Brandon Ingram at captain, which is probably my favorite because I feel comfortable with him getting the minutes. And to me, I feel like he'll probably be the highest owned captain. Wouldn't you have to agree with that? I know that usually Paul George and Kawhi Leonard usually are that, but I think the field is smart enough to realize that, look, Ingram at a lower price probably gets you the safest amount of minutes and the safest amount of output. But what else jumps out to you here? I mean, are you seeing that Nickeil Alexander-Walker captain? Are you seeing that shit? Because it's kind of tempting for tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a very real opportunity that he's getting a majority of the minutes and he's playing the point all night, right? So I don't think that's a terrible play. I mean, you would consider Lonzo Ball in that position. Obviously, they're not the same, but he's going to play fucking 49 minutes in this game, right? And I know it's not possible, guys. I probably should have exaggerated more if I was going to be facetious, but no, I think he's fine. I think he's a very interesting captain. But again, he's going to be 1% in the captain owned, 1% owned in the captain spot, right? Because you're going to be able to play a very specific lineup. So you're still going to have to get a little different, I think. Other than that, I think, well, I really like Brandon Ingram and Paul George. I think it's very possible Kawhi kind of just plays middling minutes. Do we know if they're on a back-to-back or if they're going to be on a back-to-back?
No, it's not a back-to-back.
Okay.
I mean, that's the thing. I think what we can consider doing here is, I think overall everyone knows the best plays here, and I don't want to go too crazy with going deep with a fucking dude like Nico Melli necessarily. I don't hate him, but like he just doesn't have a high upside. Or Kira Lewis Jr. Like I don't want to even mess with those dudes today. So I'd rather just maybe potentially think about maybe going PG-13 or Kawhi in some of my lineups, not all of them. Like I said, I'm going to have a core of them, all these guys together, and then rotate out the last 2 guys. But like for me, if you decide to go Paul George in the captain and then fade Kawhi and maybe go with Serge Ibaka instead, we have enough salary that we can get a little bit more creative. So what are your thoughts on that? Like I within Fantasy Cruncher, I did a little boost where if Paul George was at captain, I reduced Kawhi's projection by like 15 or 20% in the flex, just to see what came out. And I ended up getting a few lineups without them. And I did the same with Kawhi at captain. And I think it's pretty valuable to do something like that. I don't want to go across the board with both of them out of my lineups, but I want to get a few just in case if Kawhi ends up getting 25 minutes or something because they don't really need to play him. I mean, do you have any thoughts about maybe getting different by going PG-13 or Kawhi in a few of your lineups?
I think this is a great matchup to do something like that just because it does have the potential to be such a magnificent blowout so quickly. And again, it's not going to impact any of the plays that I have on the New Orleans side, right? I'm still going to be playing the same guys because they're going to get a shitload of run. Brandon Ingram, I think, might be the only person. Well, Steven Adams, because he's old as fuck. But Brandon Ingram and Steven Adams, they might get a little cap on their minutes simply because obviously they're starters. So that's something that I'm going to keep an eye out for. But on the other side of the ball, there's a real world in which they play one of these guys and just let the other guy kind of chill on the bench for a little bit, right? So I'm fine with building a couple lineups with just one of Paul George or one of Kawhi Leonard.
All right, so we have an update here.
Thornwell.
Yeah, so, oh, Jesus. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Thornwell, Hart, Ingram, and Adams.
Hey, it was Melly that they're not starting.
So Melly's not starting. So see if you can keep an eye out for an update on minutes on your end.
Yeah.
I don't even think I have Thornwell in my. Do I have Thornwell in my? Yeah, I do. Sedarius Thornwell at $1,000. He's projected right now for 15 minutes. That's probably going to go up, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
What was Melly? What was Melly projected for? 16. So maybe he gets. Yeah, Thornwell gets a slight boost, but they're both the same price.
Wait,
so
you have Melly at 15?
I have Melly at 16.
He's on 25 on Roto-Grinders.
Okay, that's interesting to me. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So it could be, it's one of these things. Industry wide, we just don't know how this is going to turn out. So you're taking a risk, in my opinion. I'd rather just stick with Alexander Walker at a slightly higher price at $2,200. You don't have to get $1,000 dude in here. For tournaments, I think you should rotate these guys in. But if you're just tuning in, guys, let's take a look at this starting lineup. Nickeil Alexander-Walker. What's this dude's name? Sedarius Thornwell. Hart, Ingram, and Adams. So no Melly in the starting lineup. I still think Melly's an option. I think he could get some bench run, in the fourth. But like I said, I don't think you need to go too crazy.
So will the other guy, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean,
never heard of him for a reason.
There's only a certain amount of players that can come off the bench in this particular game. So this is interesting. This is going to be, I think, if you're smart and you're watching news, I think Thornwell is a great option simply because no one's going to play him.
And he's $1,000.
He's $1,000.
And if he gets over, I mean, honestly, 15 minutes isn't a terrible projection for $1,000. But if he's going to start and get 20 plus minutes, I think that's not a bad option to fade the Alexander Walker, whatever the fuck his name is, chalk. But may not be a good idea at all.
And that's the thing with NBA. Look, you got to get a little bit different, but you don't want to avoid the chalk too much. Because if Nickeil Alexander-Walker scores 35 fantasy points, you will not cash if you don't have him in your lineups.
Bro, if he scores 25, Thornwell's starting.
Yeah, Thornwell's starting, so you can consider him. Let's move over to the spreadsheet here. The minutes aren't going to be updated. I'll see if I can try to potentially get an update, but I don't think that they're gonna.
I'm refreshing mine in the background, see if I can get it too.
Yeah. So look at the minutes here. On the lower end, I think you have to consider the fact that these minutes may be sort of not fully accurate at this point. Thornwell starting. Yeah, Clippers are going to crush them. I think that's going to happen. The best we can hope for is a close game, like within 10 points going into the fourth, because then the Clipper starters will get a little bit more run. So look, you can plan your lineups telling a story where we've got the Pelican starters in the game in the fourth and getting some more run, and then you've got more Marcus Morris, you got more Lou Williams, you got more Zubac, Kennard, but at the same time, I'm not fully comfortable just saying, fuck Paul George and Kawhi. Like, you know what I mean? So how are you handling this, like, when it comes to blowouts? Are you planning for that, or are you just going to let it ride?
I don't know. I'm going to let it ride, man. The one thing about Showdown, though, is if there is a blowout, right, Kawhi Leonard could still easily hit 35, 40 points. It may not be a ceiling game, but he still could be in the optimal. And they could both do that while not scoring a ceiling game, right? So you at least need him in your flex position if you're going to do that. So most of my lineups will have both, but I will be building a couple specifically with just one of them, so that I am covered in case in case one of them doesn't go off.
So the interesting thing here to pay attention to is there's just no reason to not want to prioritize these guys. Like I said, you can try to get cute and maybe fade one of the Clippers guys in your lineups and a few of them. But to me, you've got the fantasy points per minute are there, each of them coming in at 1.3. The minutes per game are there. We know that they're going to get the minutes, especially Ingram. The dude's going to be in the game unless it's a fucking 35, 40-point game. He's going to be in the game. He's going to probably hit that 36 minutes. And look at the usage here. You got killer usage from these guys. And this is what also, I know it's a smaller sample size. I know Nickeil Alexander-Walker hasn't been getting a ton of minutes this year. His minutes per game average is right at 15, but he's going to double his minutes. And if he can even be in the 20s here when it comes to usage, I know he's going to be on the court with Ingram and some other guys, but there's not a lot of options for the Pelicans. So if he can hold up this sort of low 20s to mid 20 usage, we're going to get a really good game out of him. What jumps out to you here when it comes to any usage? Reggie Jackson. Actually, Reggie Jackson could be an option in this game. I know he's projected for 11 minutes, but I kind of like Reggie Jackson in a blowout scenario, maybe getting an extra 5 minutes. And if that's the case, 2,000, you might want to consider him. It's just going to be tough. We're going to have to spread out. If I was only doing one lineup, I would play it safer. I'd do a single entry or something. But if I've got 20 something lineups in there, I'm trying to spread out all these lower owned guys. Is that how you're handling this?
Yeah, not really. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker is $2,200. He's starting at the point. So that locks up really my value plays for me. The only other person I'm considering is Thornwell. His first name is Sindarius.
Sindarius, yeah.
Interesting. Anyways, that'd be the only other person I'd consider if he's projected to get over 20 minutes at $1,000. I don't really feel interested in rotating some of these lower price guys. Reggie Jackson, yeah, he might get some run, but I just I still don't think they take it seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna put him up to 18 minutes. I'm gonna bring Melly down to what, like maybe 14. What are you getting any new adjustments here?
Let's see.
I mean, if he's at 18 minutes,
yeah, I got Thornwell at 18 now.
Thornwell should.
Melly's still 25 though, so I don't know, man.
It's just tough. Yeah, it's tough. I don't really love Melly anyways.
Yeah, I wasn't really interested in him anyways, right? I want to get Brandon Ingram, Paul George, and/or Kawhi Leonard, Josh Hart, and then NAW, right? Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and then I'm gonna probably just jam in Nick Batum and guys like Marcus Morris. I don't think you need to go that cheap, and Nickeil is just the clear play here.
For me, a way I'm going to get different is I'm going to use those last two spots to rotate out some of these lower owned guys like Batum. I think Marcus Morris is an option. I think you have a lot of options here, but I'm going to stick with my core. I keep saying it. But for cash, what do you think your favorite captain would be for cash for anybody like starting to build their cash lineups tonight?
Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
Or Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. Literally, it doesn't matter. You can do one with each of them.
I just feel like Ingram, we can safely say he's going to get 30 minutes. I don't know that Paul George and Kawhi are going to get 30 plus.
That's the only reason why I would give him the nod.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just look quickly at the salaries here. I know we've been talking about this quite a bit, but let's actually talk about actual salary numbers here. So Brandon Ingram's at 9,800, which is an amazing price for him. Obviously, all this pricing was set up yesterday or whenever from DraftKings, so the news doesn't adjust, so we're going to take advantage of that. Paul George, 10.6K, Kawhi, 11. Then you've got your mid-tier of Steven Adams, Josh Hart, Serge Ibaka. And then you got Batum at 6,600. Steven Adams is 76, Josh Hart 64, which is a good number for him. He's priced up, it's a fair pricing for him. I think he's still underpriced quite a bit. And Serge Ibaka at 7,200. Who's your favorite out of this middle range of guys here with Adams, Hart, Ibaka, and Batum?
Batum. Hart and then Batum. But even then, I like Ibaka and I like Adams. I think they're going to both come under the radar just because Hart and Batum are probably going to be more obvious plays. So I definitely think you can pivot off of some of that chalk. By going to Adams or Ibaka. But again, I'm really scared coming off Josh Hart. Nick Batum, he probably will be around 30-35% owned, so he might be interesting enough just to jam in there.
If you want to pivot off Hart, Batum is a great option. Serge Ibaka is a great option. And, I like Steven Adams too. But I'm just going to prioritize Josh Hart because I think that the minutes are there for him. And one thing to consider here, if you look at Batum's minutes projection, he's right around 24. I think that if this is a blowout, I think do you think he gets a little extra run above that 24? Or do you think that he's going to still stick around to be potentially lower than that?
I think Marcus Morris gets a little bit more run if this is a blowout. I think Nick Batum is he's in the starting rotation. Yeah, they're starting to like him there. So I just don't know if he's going to get quite the same boost. But I do like Marcus Morris in that kind of game script.
All right, so let's move on to this next tier here. We've got Pat Bev, Marcus Morris, Lou Williams, Zubac, and maybe throw Kennard into that. This is going to be where I think the ownership just is going to be super low. I think you maybe in tournaments can take a flyer on one of these guys, specifically Pat Bev. But what worries me here is the ceiling of those minutes. And if this is a blowout, you're going to see a lot of potential issues. I think Marcus Morris, like I said, like you said, is going to get that boost in a blowout. So who's your favorite guy out of this middle tier, 5 to 3,800?
Ooh, 5 to 3,800.
Roth, what's up, man?
I mean, Lou Williams has to be the clear choice, right? He's gonna get run. I know he's probably, what is he projected for, 20 minutes? 20. That seems a little low. He usually gets closer to 24, I feel like, but maybe Morris's time is eating into that. I have no idea. But
the Lou Will pivot off of Pat Bev could be a nice option. Or a Lou Will pivot off of any of these Clippers guys potentially, because he's going to get those extra minutes potentially, right?
Yeah, I mean, who's playing big on New Orleans, right? You got Brandon Ingram, you got
Jackson Hayes,
Jackson Hayes, you got Steven Adams. I don't even know if Nicolo Melli is a big guy. I might have to look that up, but at some point you might just have a shitload of fucking shooters out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think Lou Will might have a little bit better matchup in there. So I think he could get a couple extra minutes here. So he is interesting. And again, these guys are probably going to be low owned as fuck because there's so much value on this slate. People are going to be jamming in all the highest projected, highest median output guys. So I think you can take flyers on these guys and not have to, fill up a 20 max with all Lou Williams. So I think you can rotate any of these guys in there. Luke Kennard's really interesting in a blowout script. So
one strategy to think about here is, this is a good opportunity to not max out your salary. Typically speaking on Showdown, that's like kind of rule number one, right? Hey, how can I be different? Well, let's leave 1,000 on the table or something like that. And you can still get that upside. But in this particular case, I wouldn't be afraid to leave a few thousand on the table here because there's so many good options at lower prices. The optimizers are going to automatically plug in Kawhi, Brandon, and Paul George. And if you want it to be a little bit different, you can go a little bit lower down to Serge Ibaka or something like that and leave a couple thousand on the table. I'm not saying do that in every lineup, but if you're really getting creative, don't be afraid to do that. Don't let that limit you. Any thoughts on Zubac? I mean, he was questionable with an abdominal injury here. Look, this guy is boom or bust. I think he has the upside. But I'm a little worried about him. He's projected for 18 minutes. What do you have on your side of things for Zubac? He's projected for 18 minutes on my side. In a blowout, a dude who was questionable, there's no reason for them to get any more run on him, don't you think?
Yeah, they don't usually get run on him anyways. He rarely goes up in his minutes, so I don't like him generally. But 17 minutes isn't terrible if you want to get a couple lineups with him. That's fine. Lots of Ingram, captain, George, Leonard, Hart, Williams, Alexander. Yeah. I absolutely.
All right, let's move on.
I have that build right now, actually.
Yeah, that's a safe build. So let's move on. Let's do our captain of the night choice here. Stand by. Thanks for joining us, guys. I know we're getting up to lock, but it's talking about strategy is more important than us showing you how to build. Like, you got to think of these things on your own here sometimes.
Yeah. If you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
All right, we're crown their ass segment here. Let me share my other screen. And we're going with PG-13 and Brandon Ingram. Ellie, you're thinking PG-13. I think it's a great option. I'm thinking Brandon Ingram. I think he has a higher floor. For tournaments, PG-13 might be a good option because I think he's going to be a little bit less owned. Any other thoughts to add to that?
No, man. PG-13, GPP, Brandon Ingram, cash for sure.
Share your screen there, Ellie. If you got a lineup HQ up.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm switching over to you. All right, let's do a Brandon Ingram, chalk build and see what comes up. Have you refreshed lately?
I did a second ago.
Okay, cool. You don't have to do it again. I'm just wondering.
It hasn't updated though since 6:54.
Okay.
That's the concern.
So this is chalk. This is where a lot of the field's going to end up probably. Ingram, Bev, Josh Hart, Walker, George, and Kawhi. Now this is exactly what we were talking about. You have your core of Hart, Alexander Walker, George, Leonard, and then Ingram. And I think you should rotate your captains in and out based on what you want to do. And then you have that last spot and potentially the Hart spot that you can rotate in dudes. The Pat Bev play, can we pivot off Pat Bev at 5K and maybe find a little bit lower price guy that has higher upside? Even Lou Williams, potentially?
Well, yeah, absolutely. So, Lou, he's 4,800, so you would have gotten him anyway.
Yeah.
So Josh Hart, Lou Williams.
Yeah, so, and we'll have to do a build without the Kawhi and George here just to see how that feels. But I like this a little better. I like the Lou Williams instead of Pat Bev, simply thinking about a potential blowout. I know it's really hard to think about that kind of stuff. It gets real muddy because we just don't know what's going to happen. But you can always assume that Lou Williams is probably going to get an extra few minutes because they gotta run somebody out there. Although Reggie Jackson could be another guy that you can think about too in this situation. So do you want to switch out Lou Williams and Hart, and then we can try to see if we can fit like a Ibaka or a Marcus Morris or Batum, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so, I mean, look, you can actually do that. You can go Nick Batum, Marcus Morris. But if I wanted to play both of them in the same lineup. So let's leave Marcus Morris in. That gives us 7,500. Yeah, here you go, man.
Oh, Serge. Yeah, there you go. So let's do this. Pull out Kawhi. Now, we're going to have to leave a shitload on the table, obviously. Can you put Steven Adams there?
Well, yeah.
Now, I know this isn't as high of upside, and obviously we wouldn't do this for cash or anything, but you got Ibaka instead of Kawhi. And then you've got Steven Adams. I kind of like this as a tournament. This is going to be different with Ingram in the captain. We're going to have to worry about that, about being just slightly different in tournaments. So I think this will definitely be different. Now pull Morris out and see if you can go higher than Morris. Not really. Huh?
I mean,
Josh Hart. Just put Josh Hart back in. Yeah, that's not bad. You leave 1,300 on the table.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that.
Now let's do. I mean, it's going to be the exact same thing. So you can put in this certain case, you can just pull Paul George and put Kawhi in. You can rotate them out in and out. I'm not saying that. I personally don't have a ton of lineups without both of them, but let me look. Let me actually check out my exposures here. So I've got Kawhi. So I've only got a situation where I have Kawhi and George not in the same lineup in like 3 lineups out of 21. So and that's probably all I'm comfortable doing, but I feel like in larger tournaments, you shouldn't be afraid to do that because that's one way to get a little bit different. All right, let's do another captain, bro. And chat, hit us up if you want to see any other weird captains. I know we've got about 10 minutes to lock.
All right.
Let's do a PG-13 captain. We'll do one with Kawhi and then one without, and then we'll go to Kawhi and do the same thing.
That's interesting, JJ Reddick.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love these lineups. You can't go wrong with any of these. And this is also not bad for cash. Although I would consider instead of Reddick, I'd consider somebody else. I'd probably go Josh Hart and then go down from Adams.
Yeah, I would too. Josh Hart, and then what does that lose?
Armand, what's up? Paul George, captain. Yes, sir. Ferris head-to-head, either one of those works. I personally would prefer Ingram because of his minutes floor in this particular game. Josh Hart, captain. Paradise. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that after our Kawhi. So this is with Kawhi.
I'm going to enter this one.
So Paul George, Josh Hart, Morris. Yeah, Morris, I feel like Morris can have a good night tonight.
Who's going to guard him, man?
Yeah. And he's going to be one of these lower owned dudes because you just can't. Somebody's going to get forgotten about when it comes to ownership. I think he's going to be 15% or lower. Would you have to guess on? Would you say 15% or 10%?
I'd say he's probably gonna be 15%. He should be higher than that, but
All right, so let's do. So Ferris, we did a cash lineup right off the bat with Ingram. So look, Ingram at captain. So put Ingram at captain real quick and let's just show us this cash lineup, and then optimize. It's going to be basically you can rotate if you're not comfortable with Pat Bev. You can rotate one of these other guys in, but Josh Hart, Alexander Walker, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Pat Bev. If you want to move away from Pat Bev, that's that's how you can be slightly different, but for tournaments. But I consider this pretty high floor, safe cash play. All right, let's do Melly. Look, I personally think yes, he could be a good play. First of all, he's not starting, but so keep that in mind. His minutes could be lower. I don't like Melly today at all. And of course, the second I say that, he's going to go off for fucking 45 fantasy points, but I'm not playing him. I don't think I have any Melly. Yeah, we should talk about Thornwell too. His projection is not going to be there. It's probably not going to get updated before we start, but we should talk about Thornwell. Thornwell's in the starting lineup. For tournaments, I would highly consider Thornwell because is that Thornwell? Sorry, I fucked his name up. Because he's going to be super low owned. I don't think people are going to adjust to the news as quick. I got 7 minutes.
You to save this much money. That's the problem. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, Thornwell, Alexander Walker, Adams, George, Leonard.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. So let's take out. You got Kawhi twice.
That doesn't make sense. All right. Well, Paul George.
No, you already had Paul George in. Well, you're missing Ingram. Wait, what? Did you break?
I guess I did. There we go.
There we go.
That would have been a unique as hell lineup, though, right?
Batum or Hart? If you're doing cash, I'd say Hart, right?
Yeah. I just say Hart or both.
Yeah. Look, Batum for tournaments, if you wanted to pivot off, you could. But Hart has the higher probability of hitting his tournament.
Okay, we'll do a Kawhi Fade George.
Yeah, exactly.
Still Alexander Walker.
Do you want to get one of the Pat Bevs in? Do you think if George has a below average game, does that give somebody a boost, or does that matter?
Yeah, I think it's Batum or Marcus Morris. I mean, I like this lineup, right? Kawhi, Ibaka, Batum.
Ferris, I wouldn't consider. I'm not saying we're fading Adams necessarily. It's just he's just not fitting into our builds with all of the value. You just got to prioritize Hart and to kill Alexander Walker, in my opinion, over Ibaka, or I'm sorry, over Adams, because
we have him in this lineup. I think this is a fun lineup. I
love Adams. Don't get me wrong. I think for tournaments it might be a little bit better of a play. All right, let's do a whatchamahooza, a Hart captain real quick. We've got 5 minutes left. Thank you guys. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate the comments. Let's do Hart captain. And let's fade Nickeil Alexander-Walker in this one.
Okay.
We can go with this is obviously a tournament lineup. Yeah, let's go with Thornwell, baby. Yeah, there we go. Dude, that's a sick lineup. I got 4 minutes. Here, I'm gonna enter this one. Let's see what kind of tournaments are available here.
What do we have? So I mean you can go from Adams to Ibaka, George or Leonard to Ibaka, fucking throwing Nick Batum. Doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want here. Yeah,
tonight's the night where I want to do more. I want to do 20 max tonight. There's some nights where I'm like, I'll just stick with a single entry or like a couple darts. I want to do a 20 max tonight.
I like this one.
Yay. Wait, let me see that. Oh, is that the Nickeil Alexander-Walker one?
Yeah.
Let's see. Do I have anything? I'll do another one for you. Leave that one up. Ellie, would you read this real quick while I'm entering this shit?
The lineup, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. The comments. Can you see here? You can go into Matrix mode. It's all good.
I just got it up on my phone.
Okay.
So I got Ingram, captain with Kawhi. I got Ingram and captain with Kawhi, George. Let's take Lou Will, Zubac, or Morris. I mean, how much do you have left? I mean, you have enough for Pat Bev, right? So I would go Pat Bev if this is cash. Otherwise, if it's GPP, then Lou Will or Marcus Morris, whichever you're more comfortable with. Yeah, and Pat Bev's 5K, right?
Yeah, Pat Bepp's 5K. He's got 5,100 left.
Yeah, so I mean, if it's cash, I think that's just the route you go.
So 3 minutes to lock. Stick with us a few minutes after lock. We'll look at some ownership and kind of see where things came in. Anything else you guys want to see? Do you want? Oh, let's do a Nikhil Alexander-Walker captain real quick.
All right, 1 second. Let me answer this one.
Cool.
All right. The only contest nearby was a $5 single entry, so I fucking put it in that one, I guess.
I think we did the same one, but we have a different lineup, so it's all good.
All right. Oh shit, Alexander Walker.
Yeah, I feel you on the same lineup. I hear you. For Showdown, I don't do head-to-heads for Showdown. There's just too much. There's too many dupes. You end up just basically paying the rake and losing money almost.
I do.
You do head-to-heads for Showdown?
Yeah, it's the problem is they don't always fill. So
well, the thing I like about Showdown for main slate is you can late swap. You can, based on your opponent, kind of guess what he's got and then swap off of that. That's why I like late swap with head-to-heads. So my cash lineup's not doing well. It's actually doing good. Durant didn't do great, but not too bad. I still got 3 guys left from main slate. So 1 minute left, guys. I mess with head-to-head sometimes. I'd rather do the 5-man or 7-man, or 7-man or 5-man tournaments. That's my thing. And me and Ellie are huge into that. I'd rather do that.
But I mean, head-to-head's pretty much a.
Is this the optimal? Sorry, dude. Is this the optimal for the NAW?
Yes, it is.
Ibaka, Adams,
George, Leonard, Ingram.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a Batum over Adams, or Batum over Ibaka even.
Yeah, you can literally switch anybody you want out here.
But the key here is, like I said, I personally am going to have 5 core players. And we're at lock. All right, let's look at some ownership. And before you guys head out, throw us a like. We subscribe. I think 70% of our watch hours are from non-subscribers. So if you guys would just click that subscribe button, it would really help us out. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers here in the next few months. So that really helps us out. We're going to be doing a giveaway when we hit 500. We'll probably give away some Draftkings tickets or something like that. So subscribe. We appreciate it. Let's get into ownership here.
Can you take me off Matrix mode?
Yeah, you're off Matrix mode, dude.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right, so let's look at this shit. For cash, do you guys like tournaments with winner take all?
Sure. I mean,
are you talking about like 5-man or 7-man or 10-man with winner take all? I personally don't get into that, because if I'm playing those 5 or 7-mans, I'm trying to get a higher cash rate. 33% Ellie is what you said the 7-man is?
No, 7-man's 43%.
That's what I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get like a 10%,
Yeah, if I'm going to do that, I'm probably going to play GPP. But, I mean, they're fine, right? Because you can still enter a cash lineup and not have to be too crazy with it, because it's such a small field.
Yeah, exactly. So Nikhil Alexander-Walker is getting 60% ownership and about 8% in the captain. You got Kawhi at 87 and 18. And you got Paul George at 88 and 20, and Ingram at 89 and about 30 captain. So just like we thought, Ingram would be highest in the captain. You've got Josh Hart coming in at 43% owned and Steven Adams at 52% owned. Anything else jumping out to you?
Nick Batum, 25%.
JJ Reddick is 12%. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. He's old now. Like he can go out there and crush, but
yeah, what's just like I thought. Like Lou is going to be pretty low owned, right? What's his projection? I can't find him.
Yeah, I gotta find my lineup with him.
Ibaka's 31%, which seems pretty low. Let's see.
Where's my Lou lineup? What the fuck?
Pat Bev 30%. Seems about right for him for tournaments. 3%, Raph?
Oh my God, SGU and Jesus. Is he a scratch that we didn't know about? Yeah, he's 7% in one of mine.
7%? Oof. Well, that could be the key there. This is the guy that we're kind of forgetting about it. Charles, thanks, man. We appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for commenting. We appreciate it. All right, Ellie. So is this going to be a 40-point game at halftime? What's going on? What's going on? What's your bold prediction here? Can New Orleans keep this within 10 going into the fourth quarter?
No, not at all. I think Brandon Ingram scores 45 real life points, and that's all I have for this show.
Evan, thanks, man. Ferris, head-to-head showdown. We got the same lineup, except he got Adams and Reddick versus Hart and Beverly.
I think his has a little more upside, but you should have the floor.
You have the safer lineup, but he's got the upside. So if
I don't know, Hart, man, he might have more upside than both Reddick and Adams. So I think you're fine, dude.
Well, look, Reddick is risky. He's scoring dependent, and he was at one point questionable today. So who knows how much he's going to actually play? Look, the dude's old as hell. I mean, he's already starting his post NBA career by doing his podcast and everything like that. The dude's old as hell. He's probably got 1 or 2 years left, maybe. They're not going to play him 30 something. They're not going to pay him 30 minutes or even 25 minutes if this game's a blowout. So, all right. Anyways, thank you guys so much. I forgot to change my little top thing here. That's my bad. Oh well. All right, Ellie, we'll see you. You want to do this again tomorrow?
Let's do it, dude.
All right. And we got some NFL this weekend too. Let's do that too.
Fuck yeah, bro.
James, yo, what's up, man? Thanks for joining. All right, we're gonna see you guys next time. Let us know how you guys do. All right, hit us up in the comments or hit us up on Twitter. We also have a free Discord where we're talking in-depth stuff. So hit us up in that, and we'll see you guys next time. See you later.